2025 season in review, year in review for the Philadelphia Phillies. Not the way that we wanted to go out. Definitely had championship aspirations this year. The last year that we could really do anything with this core. And we just couldn't get past the Dodgers. And hats off to them. They're going to the World Series as of yesterday, sweeping the Brewers, which statistically was the best record in baseball. They couldn't even hold a candle to them. 4-0 swept out the door. Shohei, gotta give it to him. 10 strikeouts, two hits, gave up 6 innings pitched, and 3 home runs that would have been out of the park anywhere else in the same game. So yeah, let's take a look at the Phils, how they did this year, and the expectation for next year. So let's get it started. All right, so first things first, 96 and 66 for the season. That is good enough for second in the league, second in the NL behind the Brewers, and first in the NL East is our second straight NL East Division Championship. So that's good enough for another divisional pennant, which is a good season. It's a good regular season. We had a pretty good regular season, offensively and pitching. Defense, the less said about the defense, the better. But it was good enough to get us 96 wins. So there's that. So where do we begin? So let's start with the winter meetings, somewhere along like the winter meetings and the off season. I feel like the Phillies had a pretty good off season. We didn't really need to get much because we already had everybody still under contract. We had JT and Kyle Schwarber, Ranger Suarez, for one more year. So they're free agents after this. I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit down the line when it comes to expectations for next year. But when it comes to people who we did get, Max Kepler, who wasn't really like a huge factor, but he definitely showed out when he needed to show out. So I would say he did his part. He's also a free agent after this year. I think we only signed him for a 1-year deal. So let's see if it's good enough for him to come back. The disappointment of this year, who we have gotten, especially with Jeff Hoffman going up north, playing for the Toronto Blue Jays. We got a former Blue Jay in the form of Jordan Romano. The less said about him, the better. He was constantly giving up runs in his time coming out of the bullpen. Definitely an L in that category. The bullpen in and of itself was just atrocious. But as the year went on, they did really well, especially with the trade deadline acquisitions that I'll mention a little bit later on in this video. The big win out of this offseason was getting Jesus Luzardo from the Miami Marlins. He was a baller, and I already knew he was going to get ahead and come into the team and ball out. I just didn't know it was going to be of that magnitude. The thing about Jesus Luzardo, if the game gets away from him, it gets away from him pretty noticeably. I'm talking about like a few runs, and we can't come back from that. So, but when he controls the game, he's one of the best out there. So it was good for the Phillies to get ahead and trade him. I think they traded Starlin Kaba for him, who is a pretty good young prospect. I think he's on the top 100. Yeah, they really knocked it out of the park with Jesus Luzardo. Another player that I noticed a little bit about during the season, because he's in the minor leagues right now. Right now he's playing in the fall league. Dylan Campbell, who we ended up getting from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's been balling out, and I really do see a future with him. I don't know if they're going to get hit and call him up at some point down the line, or if he's going to be a trade piece down the line. But he is looking really stellar in the minors, looking really good out there in the Arizona Fall League. So more to come on Dylan. I hope he does really well. Dylan Campbell. So that just about wraps up the off season. We didn't really go out and get like anybody like massive like in the hitter department, but you know, we needed Jesus Luzardo. So going into the season, we were still looking good. I mean, we were fending off the Mets. It was between us and the Mets and the whole division race. So, you know, as it was coming up to the trade deadline, we needed to address some of the biggest holes. The biggest hole is that bullpen. It's been the bullpen for years. We haven't had really a stellar bullpen since '08, to be completely honest with you. I mean, we had a good bullpen in 22 as well, but I'm talking about lights out. Yeah, '08. '08 was the last time we really had a good bullpen. And get a good piece they did. I didn't see, so you know, as I was looking at the transfer trade rumors, um, um, there was a few players that you know were looking like they would, you know, the Phillies would go after. Not one of them was Yohan Duran, and I did not notice it at all. It just snuck right under my nose until one day I came out and I seen that we got a reliever and it was Yohan Duran. I was stoked. I was stoked about that trade. They landed a baller for sure. He came in and he did his thing. I feel like he's going to do his thing for a good while. Hopefully the Phillies can retain Yohan Duran. He's going to be a solid closer for the remainder of his career. So yeah, that was a pretty big one. Another big one was Harrison Bader, getting him also from the Twins. The Twins helped us out a good bit in the trade deadline as we were going for the playoffs. Harrison Bader, he came out and he helped out a good bit. He was like one of our best hitters in the second half. Definitely was necessary to get hit and trade for an outfielder, especially with Nick Castellanos struggling. Center field was kind of like Brandon Marsh wasn't all the way there. So what do? You go out and get another bench piece, somebody to come off the bench if he doesn't start, or somebody you can mix in with the start lineup. But as the season went on, 96 wins. My team's MVP is obviously Kyle Schwarber. Had a hell of a year. I think 56 home runs. He was close to Ryan Howard's record. I think it was 59. But yeah, he balled completely out. He won't get the MVP though. I'm sorry, it's Shohei. It's gonna be Shohei. It's gonna be hard to beat Shohei. So it was really, really good to see his season. Another player who really balled out, Christopher Sanchez. He's gonna go places with his stuff. He had some great stuff. He had good control of his pitches all year. He looked really good this year. So depending on how Zach Wheeler and his blood clots come along, um, definitely want to take a look at Christopher Sanchez for being the best that we got, and he's going to be our ace. Um, yeah, so that was pretty much the season. It looked really well. Like I said, 96, 66. It didn't transit. It didn't transition into the postseason apart from Game 3. Game 1 and Game 2, Christopher Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo looked spectacular. We just couldn't hit. Just couldn't hit the ball. Um, it was sad to see. It definitely was. They for a team that you build for moments like that, and we've seen those moments get controlled by the guys that we had: Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, even our two youngsters, Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto. We've seen them come up in big moments, but it was kind of tough with the pitches that they had because it's the Dodgers. They're no slack. They have solid pitchers. They threw out Shohei first. Then I think it was Snell. So it was Shohei, Snell, Yamamoto, and I think Shohei again. I don't remember who it was game 4, to be honest. We'll get to game 4 in a little bit because there's a lot to forget about that game. But game 1 and game 2 was dominated by pitching on our side. We could hit in game 1, and that one, I think it was the second inning, could not hit for the rest of the game. And if we did, we couldn't deliver. So that was game 1 and game 2. So we couldn't get it done at the bank. Game 3 is where it all turned off or turned on for that Philadelphia Phillies offense. And it all started with that monster shot from Kyle Schwarber. Only 2 players have hit the ball over the roof out there in Dodger Stadium. Kyle Schwarber, and then last night it was Shohei, and they were both like 450-foot plus tape measure shots. And then the team just clicked, and most of it wasn't because of Yamamoto. Yes, the homer came off from Yamamoto, but they pulled Clayton Kershaw way late. So that's a big reason why. It's a big reason why they weren't able to pull it through. They weren't able to pull a sweep through, and we were able to live another day. Game 4. Game 4. We looked really well, and it wasn't Luzardo. Luzardo came in a little later. It was Christopher Sanchez again. Looked fantastic. And then I believe Luzardo came in. It was pretty much like a bullpen game, but not really. I think Sanchez was in there for like 5 or 6 innings, and he looked great. We looked great up until, but we couldn't hit, right? We couldn't hit because the pitching is dominant. Then it went to extras. Nobody was still getting hits. Then it came to the bottom of the 11th. First things first, hats off to Orion Kirkering. I was definitely furious at the time, but to see how devastated he was for that play, it was sad. It was definitely devastating to see him look like that. So hopefully he's doing all right, and hopefully he can learn from this and bounce back and be that reliever that he was when he came up, and he was dominant. So hats off to Orion Kirkland, but we have to go over that play. Bases loaded, 2 outs. We just need the 1 out to get hit and get out of the inning and live some more. Andy Pages hits a tapper to first. Sorry about that. Actually, that's a little bit better. Andy Pages hits a tapper to Orion Kirkering. Sorry for the shadow in the back, guys. And he grabs it, and what ends up happening is he throws it home and overthrows JT. JT's pointing the first. Hell, I'm pointing the first because that's a guaranteed out. But if you look at it again, Kim didn't even touch home. So he probably could have got him out if he hit JT. But that happened. Dodgers win. So that's the season. And my questions and what I look forward to next season is, where do we go from here? Does the championship aspirations end? It definitely ends with this core. I don't know where we're going in the form of the team, because like I said, JT, Kyle Schwarber, Ranger Suarez, and I think Max Kepler are all free agents this year. So we need to figure out who we're bringing back, and who we're going to get to replace him. Rob Thompson's coming back for another year. He is going to be on the hot seat because even though he's been the best manager that we've had since Charlie Manuel, when it comes to like wins and actually producing, he's had some times where it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, oh my gosh, we do this. Like, there were a couple times where we had Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker both in the bullpen ready, and we didn't use them. We ended up going for like David Robertson, who's old, just call it what it is. It was great to see him back, but he's definitely, up there in age. And just the regular guys that we would use. Like, they use Yohan Duran. I think they used Yohan Duran because they kind of figured, just get him out there because we wanted to see what it looked like in Red October. Whatever, right? That intro's still awesome, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. But is the aspirations already done? Like, are the Phillies done? Is their window closed? Especially with the Dodgers being where they're at. Who knows what the Mets are gonna do? Because the Mets, they bombed the season, and I think they're gonna get hit and spend some money on some guys. And who knows? This might have just been it for the Philadelphia Phillies, and I hope not. The other one is, who do they sign back? Do you sign back Kyle Schwarber? Do you let him go? Do you let him walk? Do you sign Ranger Suarez because he could be very solid? I don't know. Any Phillies fans? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get out to most of my people from home. I'm from the area, from Chester. I can't say that I'm from Philly because, technically I'm not. So, let me know in the comments. Where do you think the Philadelphia Phillies go from here? Are they going to be championship contenders, or was this the last time we seen them actually be great? I hope for sure that we see more of the dominant Phillies that I had come to notice. But I'm glad that I was able to get hit and talk some Phillies with you guys. I will be talking to other sports too, but I wanted to get hit and get my feet wet with this video thing. And I wanted to talk about either how the playoffs are going, which I will after whoever wins out of the Blue Jays and the Mariners, whoever wins that series, I'll get hit and do like a league championship series review. But I want to do some NFL. I want to do some college ball for my down south folks. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned because I definitely have some more. Because I do this for the love of the game, and I kind of want this to be like fan controlled. So let me know what I should speak about in the comments. Much love to you guys. It's been Keith. I'm signing out.